Welcome to the A2Schools Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Cluley, the Director of Communications here for the Ann Arbor Public Schools. And we decided that since it's, we're into mid, almost late October already, we would just kind of do a general fall, what's been going on, what's coming up in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. So we just have the one guest tonight, and it's our superintendent, Dr. Swift. Thanks for joining.
Oh, it's great to be here, Andrew. Thank you.
So it is the fall, and obviously there's a lot of school-related things, but if you've been watching any TV, you've seen millions of commercials about campaigns. And we're not going to get into the state races or the House of Reps or all of that, but we are going to talk about the candidates that are running for the Ann Arbor Public Schools Board of Education. We've got quite a few candidates, and there's 4 spots, I believe, this year.
That is correct. I appreciate, Andrew, you raising it. You are right. We are surrounded now by campaign news every day. I just really am so grateful to the 13 individuals who've gone to the trouble and taken their own time, invested their time, and care enough about our school district to run for office. And we know, serving on the board is a privilege and an honor, and it's a role of service and governance. And I just am really grateful to everyone who's taken their time to put themselves out there. And, since 2013, every other year, we've gone through this for decades, but I've experienced those for the last 9 years and have worked with 17 trustees and over those years, and am always proud and grateful to work with folks that our community selects and that are committed to children. So I just want to give a thank you to PTO and APAC and all the organizations that have hosted forums. Those are extremely important to our local democratic process. I want to thank everyone who's attended those forums, and I look forward in the new year, 2023, just around the corner, working with whomever our community selects. And I appreciate the carefulness and the attention and the thought that I see individuals in our community taking every day with this very important decision.
That's right. And you mentioned the forums, and I think that's very crucial in this because unlike, as I said, those TV ads where you are done seeing those ads by, months before the elections actually take place, on the Board of Education election, there's not as much advertising and a lot more of getting to know the candidates has to happen through those types of candidate forums. And I just want to remind everyone that we've been posting links to the videos and the audio of these forums in the weekly update every week. And I know that this week's update is going to add the most recent candidate forum, the PTO Council forum this week. There's video of that, and they'll be included. So just check out your email for the weekly update, and you'll find some links. If you're trying to decide which of these candidates best represent you, that's where you can find out and learn a little bit more about them. So that's a important election tip. And a reminder also that on election day, we will be closed. So
yes, just 2 weeks out, and we will be closed on that day. It actually is a professional development day, so we use it for those items that are needed in our calendar, like professional development, and we appreciate the support of our community. We host some 30 plus precincts in our schools. So our schools are very busy on election day serving as polling locations, and we're grateful to have the partnership in our community to do that.
And that is Tuesday, November 8th will be election day. Just my little pitch, go out there and vote.
I can't wait. I think I may be voting early this year, but vote early, vote on the day, just vote.
That's right. So getting the election issues out of the way, there's been a lot of other stuff going on in the Ann Arbor Public Schools this fall. And I think that there's going to be a visit from the International Baccalaureate national world headquarters, I guess, whatever it is, reviewing the IB program here in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Can you talk a little bit more about what that'll be like?
Well, thank you, Andrew. This is a time in fall of 22 when we're seeing a lot of kind of long-term efforts come to milestone points. And this milestone of our International Baccalaureate programming at Mitchell, Scarlett, and Huron. And Andrew, I think folks in the community probably recall that we are the only full continuum age 2 years to IB diploma graduate in all 4 programs of IB. We're the only one of its kind in North America. So it's a very special program. This is the 5-year point for authorization. And of course, it took the schools about 3 to 4 years to become authorized. So we are really reaching a very major milestone. I want to give a shout out to the Mitchell, Scarlett, and Huron teams because they've been busy preparing for this world visit. And the desired outcome is that the programs will be fully authorized for an additional 5 years. So very exciting time.
It's amazing to think about the fact that we've already reached the point where we're talking about reauthorization.
Yeah.
In some ways, it seems like it was just the other day when people were first finding out that, what is IB, and
Right.
now it's become just such an integral part of these schools.
Yes, it's so exciting. And really the programming hitting a level of maturity that you just can't have in those early years. So I think our children will benefit and continue to benefit, our students at every age, elementary, middle, and high school. And, we're bringing online next the Bryant-Pattengill community.
And that decision was made partly based on just the immense interest that, particularly at Mitchell Elementary, you've seen the number of students that are attending it and are interested in IB at a young age and working their way, having that full spectrum so that you can start as a very young student, go to then on to Scarlett, and then go on and get an IB diploma at Huron High School. So just an amazing program.
It really is. And it was the request of the process that we did to gain community engagement in the Bryant Huron community. Mitchell is now about 2.5 times the size that it was when we started this implementation. We do anticipate a similar, growth in the Bry-Pat school community. We're very excited. It will take them about 3.5 years to get to that point of the initial authorization. So we're just excited for the team and appreciate the Bry-Pat teachers and leaders and support staff and all their work that they are doing to bring those schools online with the International Baccalaureate program.
So that's a big, unique thing happening this fall, but we've also had a lot of the typical fall events,
Yes.
The fun runs, the walk, bike, and roll to school day was just
Yes.
last week. I don't know if you got to see any of that.
I was so delighted, Andrew, to be driving past Wines Elementary and got to see the school bus dropping elementary students over at Forsyth so that everyone could have that experience of walking into school. And it looked like a great parade and beautiful fall weather. And the students were joyful. And I was delighted to get to see a moment of that joy.
And I bet there were some of the parents that were glad it was that week and not this week with the weather turning a little bit colder.
Yes, we've certainly had the onset of chillier and wetter weather. So we were very fortunate to have a beautiful fall week for our walk and roll to school.
And last week also marked the end of the Hispanic-American Heritage Month,
Yes.
celebrated across the world, but also right here in the Ann Arbor Public Schools.
It was so exciting to see all of the book studies and displays and lessons and activities. And I love that our teachers brought cross-curricular connections. So it was art and music and physical education and lots of food, I noticed, throughout all of the learning and growth activities. So just a great time this fall.
I definitely thought it was interesting to see that the one of the food classes, they turned it also into a little bit of a math lesson with, figuring out the fractions and whatnot to make the food. And as you mentioned, that bringing together multiple areas of study all together is a great way to really bring it to life for a child.
It really does. It makes a memorable learning experience, something that students connect to and find really an exploration and a synergy in that learning experience.
And also this month is Principal Month, so we want to give a shout out to all of the great principals across the Ann Arbor Public Schools.
We really do. Principals are on the front lines every day, really standing on behalf of their students and their neighborhood school communities. I just really appreciate the work of our principals. A principal, when they're committed to their role, they are clearing the obstacles for students to have high levels of learning, an enjoyable learning experience at school, and clearing the obstacles for teachers and support staff so that they have success in their work. So I just want to give a shout out to Principals Month. We actually are going to be by the schools with a little goodie bag for our principals, and we'll look forward to giving them a personal thank you at that time.
All right. So if you get a chance, you should probably thank your child's principal too.
Yes.
Hopefully that you're having a good experience at their school. Speaking of experiences in the schools, I know that there's a big change that has happened just recently over the summer, or actually most of last year at Pioneer High School, that finally, I think the children involved in musicals and the performing arts and whatnot have got thrilled with their new old digs.
Yes, it was about a year ago now, Andrew, that we had really an unanticipated situation of some mold in the location there at Pioneer in both the Schreiber Auditorium and in the Little Theater. And I'm very grateful to our facilities team, our bond team, because they've spent this past year. The first phase was a full mitigation of the issue that arose there. And then the second phase has been really a redesign and refurbishment of those rather old facilities. So I have not been able to see them yet, but I am looking forward. We have evidently several events coming up in the Little Theater and in the Schreiber Auditorium. And what a great day to reopen these facilities. And I would be remiss. We were able to address this situation because of the support of our community with our bond, our capital program, our sinking fund. We would not have been able to refurbish and to set these facilities up for the future. And I understand that they've been redone in a beautiful fashion.
And that's not the only facility news to talk about. There's also a couple of our schools have gotten to do some planning on what their long-term future is going to look like.
Andrew, it's really surprising about the passage of time, particularly during COVID. The passage of time has been different. But this work on our 2 new campuses, 2 new school construction projects, and this is phase 1 of our capital program, was approved following community engagement back in December of 20. The bond was passed in 2019. The phase 1 plan approved at the end of 2020. And here we are 2 years later. And both Mitchell and Pathways, students and staff, parents and community have been engaged in design process and really sharing with the school designers what they would like to see in their new campuses coming up.
So that's really great that we let the people that are going to be the users, and that's the students, the staff, and their families, really have a say in what their school is going to look like. And that's one of the things that we said we were going to do in 2019 when we passed the bond, but it's good to see that we've followed through with it.
It's so important. Promises made and promises kept. And I'm really grateful. Andrew, I got to be at one of the evening engagement sessions, and the students, fifth graders, had drawn pictures of what they would like to see in their school. The overall themes were they want to be comfortable. They want to have reading nooks. I found that fascinating that that's what they asked for. And then one of the most popular themes was outdoor in learning classrooms. And those are just the rage among fifth grade right now. So I'm very excited that our architects and designers will wrap all of this feedback in to their initial design, and then they'll be back to the students, staff, and parents again to check in and see how the design process is going. Now, this is going to culminate with the design presented to the board right around spring break. So next end of March, early April, somewhere in that timeline. And it's just step by step renewing the infrastructure of really an aging district, 32 buildings, and the average age about 65 years. So this is much overdue work. And again, we're able to go at this because of the support of our very generous community.
All right, that's some really good news, but that's not the only good news in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. You sort of hinted at this before, but it is that time of fall productions, and we've got Huron, Pioneer, and Skyline all have stuff in the works. We'll start with the Huron Players. Their show kicks off on October 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. They are performing Sense and Sensibility, so that'll be a good time. Most of those shows are at 7 o'clock or the 2 o'clock matinee. Then we have Pioneer, the Theater Guild, is presenting Into the Woods, and that production will be on November 4th, 5th, 6th, 11th, and 13th, with the evening shows at 7:30 and then matinees at 2 p.m. on the 6th and the 13th at Pioneer. And again, that is back in Schreiber Auditorium, so that'll be great to check out. And then we have Skyline is putting on three Tony Award-winning musical Urinetown, and that is on November 5th, November 6th, November 11th, November 12th, and November 13th. And the matinees on the Sundays are at 2:30. So it's going to be a lot of opportunity to see a lot of good shows coming up in the next couple of weeks.
I can't wait. We'll have lots of evenings filled and afternoons with watching our students and really seeing that Ann Arbor Public Schools Arts Advantage. Andrew, I never tire of seeing our students in their performing arts activities. And we have a lot to celebrate in that area in the Ann Arbor Public Schools.
And I don't want anyone to think we're leaving community out. The CET is performance of The Visit. They're just a little bit later in November, November 18th and 19th, and the 20th as well. So that'll be some excitement for a little bit later in the month of next month. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this sort of rundown of what's been going on in the schools and what's coming up. Do you have anything else to add, Dr. Swift?
No, I just appreciate this fall of 2022 and really feel a sense of celebration and a lot just of high-level activities going on every day in our schools. It's so great to have our parents and our staff and our students all fully in our schools, and also to see our Rec and Ed and community meetings all fully implemented in our schools this fall. Just a great time. Thank you.
It has been a great fall so far, and we're going to hope to have another several great weeks of fall before we get to winter, but the weather seems like we might be there already.
It does seem that way. I hope that we can hold off a little longer, though.
Well, thank you for joining me again today, Dr. Swift.
Thank you, Andrew. Great to be here.
And thank you for listening to the A2 Schools Podcast. As always, if you have any questions, the first place to stop is the website, A2Schools.org. If you have any ideas for a topic you want discussed on the podcast or just a question that you'd like to answered on the podcast, don't hesitate to email communications@A2Schools.org. Thank you very much for listening to this week's edition of the A2 Schools Podcast.